Quick live stream we got Jack Whipple in here, and we got Sean from Tradecraft. We're going to discuss a little bit about their AROYA implementation, how things are going at the facilities, and I'll introduce myself. My name is Jason Van Leeuwen. I run the client success for AROYA. So we're pretty excited to have him on the call here today, and maybe we'll just jump in here and talk a little bit about how you guys got started in the business and what makes you so passionate about growing cannabis.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I got started in the business, way back when. It's kind of a silly story, but it's actually true. I was like 15 and saw the movie Blow, and I was like, I don't know. School, I don't think I like school. I think I want to pursue cannabis. And, that was when I was 15 years old, like 16 years ago. Sold my PSP, got involved. Luckily, cannabis became legal way down the road, so I made the voyage from Indiana to Colorado and was there in 2012 when they passed Amendment 64 to legalize recreationally. And before that, it was always like a smaller thing, but once it got legalized recreationally, jumped right in and have been doing commercial cannabis ever since.
I started around 2008 as a bud tender at one of the original shops in LA. And we had a little grow there, and I started working there. Well, there was no one else there, so I was the only one working there. And I crashed into the ground a lot of times. And then started doing a little bit better, and then I got a house, and then we got a couple commercial spots, and then a bunch of little commercial spots. And then, as time went by with all of the new regulations and stuff, each little spot got shut down by a landlord or the city or the collective went out of business that was attached to. And then eventually I found the Tradecraft guys.
Very cool. Well, it sounds like both of you have been part of this industry for a long time. You put those years together, it adds up quick. So maybe you guys want to tell me a little bit about what technology was like early on. What were some of the tools you're using, and how did that play into your success where you're at now?
You want to start this off?
Oh man, back in 08, it was like Sun System 2 hoods, no humidifiers, little dinky dehumidifiers, and a lot of just like raw conduit on the walls, just rigged. It was rigged. Back in 2008, lots of stuff was rigged.
Yeah.
But it worked.
Yeah, even, I started in 2012 commercially, and even back then it was like, tables that we made out of wood with like corrugated plastic for like roofing on the tables, and, the way that we were irrigating and the pumps we were using, it definitely wasn't dab pumps and Netaflex 3G systems. We were hand mixing tanks. Like triple X Raptor hoods, vented, old school HPS bulbs. I guess right around that time or a couple years after is when, we started using 315s and double-ended HPS lighting and stuff like that. But yeah, before that, a lot of places were still hand watering. Super high-tech places had like some rainbird systems going on. It was a lot different than it is now.
No flood sensors.
No, and we certainly weren't crop steering with AROYA at that point in time.
Well, it's taken us all a little while to get here, but I'm pretty excited about where we're at right now and where things are going here in development for the next couple of years. So is there any specific companies or other tools that you want to give a shout out to real quickly that maybe you're still using that have been around with you for a while?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, shouting out Netafim. We use, at this facility we're at now, we've got the Netaflex 3G, and Alistair and Netafim has just been an amazing help at helping us design those systems and the drip irrigation on the tables. Yeah, they're one that without a doubt has to have a big shout out. That's been a crucial tool for us. What about you?
I guess the Spectre LEDs, they've been good. really good with the support, and we've had good results with them. We're just rocking in all the facilities.
Very cool. Well, I can imagine with the speed things are changing right now that life was a little different in Tradecraft 2 years ago, even probably a year ago. Can you guys tell us a little bit about what's changed in those last couple of years?
Man, well, a couple years ago, we were just kind of expanding really quickly and building out a bunch of facilities with just kind of putting in the pieces, you know, a little DHU, a little lights, a little AC, but nothing dialed in really. So it was a lot of chasing down issues that we didn't know what they were because it was brand new. Having 100 light rooms, 150 light rooms was new. So, you know, you add 10, 20 tons of DHU, and then summer comes and you can only run your lights at 80 degrees if it's over, or at 80% if it's 90 degrees outside. So you add another 10 tons. So it was a lot of retrofitting 2 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. How's your relationship with Whipple Effect changed the way that stuff gets implemented?
Oh man, you know, it's having another head to look at what's going on and keep you on track and remind you, because there's so many components, so many aspects, so many pieces working together that you could be focusing on a couple things and completely miss something for a few days, and that's going to make a difference. You miss something for 3 days and it's going to make a difference. So just having somebody that's on point and can help you stay on point, it's made a huge difference.
Very cool. And maybe for you, Jack, how do you pick out companies like Tradecraft? How do you know who the right people to work with are?
Well, that's a good question. You know, like it's always very important to, when we're figuring out what clients we're going to work with, you know, having preliminary meetings, meeting the team. We always do like an initial current state analysis to meet everyone there's 2 Tradecraft facilities that we work with. So doing a current state analysis of both facilities, meeting both of the teams, connecting with the ownership groups and making sure that, you know, there's proper capital for improvements that need to be made. Everyone's on board with like the vision of where we're going to take things. You know, everyone works as a team. There's systems for communication. There's a good org chart in place. And if all those things check out, you know, then that's when it makes sense to make an engagement. And all those things checked out, and we've been working with Tradecraft for about 2 months, and yeah, everything, we've made lots of improvements and things are looking awesome, and we're super excited to be working together.
Yeah, we are too. We're always excited when you got new clients you're working with, bringing on board. It seems like most everybody you've introduced AROYA to are very successful using it. So we can't say enough about the way your system, using that technology and making sure that those facilities are set up to be successful in the future. So talking about the future, what are you guys thinking about for the next year? What types of improvements, what changes? Maybe just tell us a little bit about where you're going.
Okay, do you want to start?
Go.
Me? Okay. Yeah, well, I guess speaking on behalf, or I'll let Sean talk about Tradecraft and how they're expanding, which Tradecraft has all sorts of exciting new expansion projects in multiple different states. But yeah, I mean, just cultivation at large. I think what's really exciting, you know, at this facility we're at here, you know, we have the new model of Spectre's LED lights, and we're able to have 13 to 1400 ppfd on top of the canopy. And I think, and the entire facility is LED. And then we're also building we're building an R&D room with agnetics lights where we're gonna have 1500 ppfd on top of the canopy at all times. So, you know, I think in the world of crop steering and just cultivation in general, it's an exciting time to be learning the different set points for this high ppfd LED growing. You know, what that means from the set points inside of the substrate as well as the environmental set points. And then, yeah, you know, really just all of the expansion projects. I've been telling everyone in 2019, I was designing mainly HPS gardens. Last year I designed it was like 60% HPS, 40% LED. And this year we're only designing LED gardens in a bunch of different states all over the country. So yeah, it's fun to see all these states coming online. It's fun to see the market growing, and it's exciting to be using all of the new technology that's out, and just like upgrades across the board where starting all of last year we were using the original AROYA. Now the AROYA 2.0 platform's coming online, and we're starting to put that in facilities, and just seeing everyone grow together at the same time is pretty exciting.
Yeah, same, a little bit of the same. It's really exciting with the new technology that's out and using the AROYA to just see what you can really do with plants. Like, I'm just a genetics guy, and there's things that you kind of put in the second place because it wasn't big enough or it veg too slow. And now we can control these things a little bit better and then bring these strains back around and just maybe make them work this time. Some strains that are just better than other ones, yeah. So, and then as far as Tradecraft, we have a big facility in Lancaster being built right now. It's got 50,000 square feet of hoop houses going up, 30,000 square feet of Nexus greenhouses, and 1,500 flowering lights. So it's a beast of a facility. It's going to have a Type 7 extraction license. It's going to have our distribution there. So it's going to be a beast.
Yeah, that's a lot to manage. Kind of wrapping around, you were talking about bringing some of your strains back, using crop steering to really make them profitable. And kind of just on a personal note, I'd love to hear what's your favorite strain to grow and why?
Oh, man. So SFV from back in the day, that just carried my life for a long time. And then Green Crack also, surprisingly, that one pulled me out of some dark times after I got a couple times. And now Biscotti. Biscotti's kind of been what I'm on right now. Yeah, those three I think are the ones that have supported my life.
Nice.
So I'll answer this from two different perspectives. The first one, my favorite strain to grow, just because I love the strain and it's special to me. But we don't grow it commercially that much because the THC is a little bit lower, is Purple Ayahuasca. It's just a beautiful strain. It normally tested about 18% THC, but it has 2% CBD. And I use that in the ceremonial blend in my nonprofit called the Sacred Trip. So that one's just kind of special for a lot of different reasons. But over this last year, from a commercial perspective and just from like a profit driving perspective, we've hit our biggest yields with ice cream cake. It's just, I know it's kind of getting played out on the market right now, but that strain it can handle environmental stress, it can handle drought stress, and when you dial it in just right, I think our biggest record that we've ever hit was 110 grams a square foot, and it was with the ice cream cake. And just purple, gorgeous, frosty. It's been a moneymaker for all of our clients over the last year for sure.
Good stuff. Yeah. I think some of my favorites are still old school, kind of like you were talking with your Purple Ayahuasca, is a little bit more personal favorites. But I think the good old Kim Dog's probably up towards the top of my list.
Yeah, that's one thing. It's like I'm really excited for. One thing I'm excited for about the future as well is that, just in general, THC not dictating the market, and I'm also kind of excited for exotics to stop trending. And like a lot of the facilities right now are only growing purple weed, and I love growing purple weed, but I love growing all strains of cannabis, and especially like fine tuning recipes and stuff for every strain using AROYA. When you're limited to only the purple strains that hopefully test, in the 27 to 32% range, it took like our genetic library that's hundreds of cultivars, and it's kind of like slimmed it down to just being limited to 5 to 10 strains that are kind of hitting this high THC purple cultivar category. So I'm kind of excited for the market just to open back up and for terpenes to be more research to be done around terpenes, more research to be done around, just the synergistic effects of lower THC cannabis and there being more of a market demand for it.
I am too. I think that genetic variability is one of the really fun things about cultivating. You know, if you're in there for, you know, genetic strain hunting, if you're in there for just getting a good variety of bud, it'll be fun to see this stuff keep continuing to hit the library of genetics in the world. What's some good cultivation advice? Maybe the best piece of cultivation advice you've ever received, and who said it?
For me, I mean, there's a lot. But you know, every time, because I was reading this question, it just keeps coming into my head about do the calculations for how many DHUs you need, and then multiply that by 4. That's exaggerating, but that's the one that just keeps popping in my head.
You know, I was thinking about this, looking at the questions beforehand, and I think, you know, it's funny. And it was said by Josh Newlinger on one of these AROYA lives that happened earlier this year. And I really internalized it and took it to heart. And I think it's probably the most impactful piece of advice that I've heard. And it's really just about, you know, maximizing the amount of micromoles that are on the canopy in the first 3 weeks of flower, and really maximizing the photosynthesis that is happening in those first 3 weeks, because really that in the end, that's when all of your that's when the flowers are being produced from the plant. So that's kind of like you're in the first 3 weeks, the full potential of what your yield could be is created, and you're only gonna be able to maximize that by, you know, finishing veg strong, matching your DLI, and then just getting the proper amount of par on the plants as soon as you can from the first week of flower on.
Yeah, that's really cool. You know, we think about the limiting inputs and how it can affect your product, and I think most people start with light. You know, talk to Bruce Bugbee, scientist over there at Apogee, and so we're pretty excited. We're now releasing the quantum sensor from those guys. It's SQ521. Really get a good look at any spectrum of light, what that equals in micromoles, and also start getting that daily lighting integral graphed out in AROYA. So we're pretty stoked to have that as a new feature in the system, and I can't agree with you more as far as how that's impactful in the overall yield quality of the product. All right, I think we talked a little bit about how long you guys have been using AROYA. Jack, you've been kind of using the system since day one. I think probably well over a year now. Is that right?
Yeah, January of 2020. You know, spoke with Ramsey when you guys launched at the Vegas conference at the end of 2019, and in January, the month after, purchased our first system. So I think that was definitely the early stages of you guys launching AROYA, if I'm correct. Is that right?
Yes, that's as far as our commercial available product, absolutely. We've been doing some client research for a number of years before that, and just making sure that when we hit the market, our product was ready for what most really good growers needed.
We got ours about 6 months ago, so we've been using it about 6 months now.
Cool. And how is the process getting started with AROYA? What kind of things did you guys need? Where could we meet you with those needs, and how smooth did that system setup go?
It went really smoothly. We got all the sensors. We had the onboarding with Reed and with Josh, and we just had weekly meetings and kind of walked us through parameters that we needed to keep an eye on and keep between. And it was a lot of observing because we didn't have anything to go off of. So we plugged them in, looked at the graphs, and then talked to Josh and Reed and made adjustments and saw trends start. And now we're actually to the point where we know what we're doing a little bit better, and we can make things happen we can start trends that we're trying to get started. We can increase our P1s to get our EC down, just little tricks like that to stay in those parameters. And I think one of the biggest things was just seeing how off our environments were at different times. And because we do a lot of double stack, so our upper compared to our bottom environmental, not set points, but readings were wildly different in the beginning. So just doing those tweaks to get the rooms, to get like the environment homogenized and get everything running without microclimates was that was really exciting, because it was just chasing down ghosts that had been around for a while. Like, why is this side of the room, why is it so hot over here? It's because our light spacing is close, and our PPFD is 1200 as opposed to the other side of our room where our light spacing is 2 feet further apart and our PPFD is 600 to 800. So it was a lot of that stuff coming together, connecting a lot of dots from just like track knowledge, things that I didn't know that now I can put numbers to and metrics to and see them. I think I answered the question.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think one of the funnest things of this job for me is working with growers that have been doing things for a long, long time, and they kind of had some good feelings about how plants reacted, what was going on in certain spots. And I think these sensors are documented verification that most of the time agrees with things they were feeling. They just had a hard time getting that all into graph, or just not enough time to take that data.
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe tell us a little bit about how capturing this data. How is a system where all of your documentation is trying to get into one place? How has that changed your cultivation practices?
Man, I wake up in the morning and I look at the graphs, and I kind of make a plan based off of that, what we need to change, what we need to adjust as far as environmentals. I can see if we lose some HVAC, if we lose like a circuit and some dehues get lost or some humidifiers get lost. So I just start with that in the morning, check out what's happening in the rooms, and then when we get to work, we split it up between, there's different room leads, so they go check their rooms and check all the environmentals in there, and just do a spot check. But I guess really it just kind of gives us like a real view of what's going on, not just a feeling of what's going on. So there's a lot more confidence in the decisions that we make.
Yeah, and I can touch on this too. Originally, starting back in I don't know, let me think about this. Probably like 2017 or 2018, we started at facilities way back when we were using GrowSense. And when I switched everything, all of our facilities over to AROYA, just for the user interface and the platform is so nice to be able to record, like every week, if we're making any irrigation adjustments, we save it inside of the harvest group. We have the pre-built recipes in there. We can also see all of the environmental data in the, from the home screen. I can flip through the 9 different facilities that we're currently managing. Here at Tradecraft, like we we do AROYA walkthroughs every single day, where it's like the manager is the first task of the day is checking the data, environmental on one screen, substrate data on the other screen, so we can see both of them at the same time. It's super efficient. We go through all the rooms, and then we physically walk the rooms after having checked the data. If any data looks off for any reason, we take note of those sensors and we go check those out. We're recording pictures every 7 days, plant heights, it's just allowed us to really like take, like you're saying, practices that we had been doing for a long time, understand why some of them were working, understand why others weren't working, and kind of just, be continuously tracking data and harvest after harvest improving based on, data sets that are digitally archived that we can revisit. All the harvest groups, once a harvest is complete, are saved in the AROYA system. And it's very common on a month-to-month basis where, we're talking about a harvest that we had and we can pull it up and we can, just hone in on a week. Like, where did our EC finish at day 21 for this cultivar? And this, stuff that, unless you just were an impeccable note taker in the past, data that, was hard to collect or wasn't getting collected as efficiently as it is now.
Very cool. Sean, you kind of touched a little bit on how your staff is functioning. I just want to talk a little bit about maybe some insights that, how has AROYA improved the way that your staff functions? What are some efficiencies been created by documenting this stuff the way we do?
It really just put, instead of training somebody, be like, this is how heavy this needs to be, or this is how much whatever it needs to be, we have a number to put to it now. And so it's brought the team together just in that consolidation of what we are trying to do to the plants. So if we're going for 30%, we all know what 30% is now because we have the sensors in there. Before it's like, oh, this is 30%. You feel that? So as far as that, I feel like that's the biggest thing. It's just consolidating the team as far as knowledge and having actual information, like from a tool that we can all, we can all agree on. You know what I mean? I lost my train of thought there.
Transparency. No, I get it. Trust me, 30% to my hands was different than 30% to your hands.
Yeah, and it's a big deal. It just brings everybody, instead of having somebody who like you think because if you don't have these tools, you don't know what's going on in these huge rooms. So just having that confidence across the team, I think that's the biggest thing that's made us better.
Very cool. Well, I think that, confidence is probably one of the most gratifying things that you can approach your work daily. I know personally for me, if I'm not confident that what I'm doing is right, if I'm not confident that today my work is going to matter, it's always a more challenging day. So sometimes when I work with growers, our first step is to really get them confident in that data and allow them the steps to say, hey, let's change a little bit about how we think, how we interact with these plants, and we're going to take that first step with data to verify or maybe give us some questioning about what we're doing.
That's what I was trying to say. Exactly.
Right on. Well, and you guys personally, I'm sure AROYA has had a fairly significant impact on your function, your position in the companies, in the industry. Maybe touch a little bit on how it's helped you grow in your position, in your professional role.
Just like the same, just going back to actually knowing what's going on instead of guessing. If you're managing multiple facilities, you have your SOPs and you have what you're supposed to do, but then you show up, you only get what that crew is telling you. You don't know necessarily what happened to their environment, if they lost some HVAC or if they lost anything like that, or you don't know if they missed a watering and didn't tell you about it, or if the plant's dried out and no one told you about it. It's things like that. Like you can tell what's going on, and also on the good side, you can just give. Lost it again. I forgot the question, Jason. We're gonna have to edit this out, guys.
It's all good. Go ahead, Jack. How do you think things have kind of helped you personally in your position?
Yeah, for sure. So really it's all about scale, right? It's about tracking. Like the better that you can manage data, track it, and have the formulas in AROYA, the more facilities that you can manage at once, So I went from being the owner operator at the beginning of last year of 3 facilities to then starting Whipple Effect, and now we're managing about 9 facilities. And like I'm here at Tradecraft right now with Sean, but early this morning, before I started the day here, I did a quick 20-minute check-in with our clients in Oakland, and we're able to, like, I'm in LA right now, but I was able to, I'm able to make an impact on 3 facilities today, whereas, before not having tools such as AROYA, having that kind of leverage of scale was a lot more challenging, so it's been great.
Right on. Well, that answers all the great questions I have prepared. You fellas have any questions for us?
What's exciting and new on AROYA's horizon for this next year?
Yeah, so I'll touch a little bit here. I won't make too many promises, but since we are recorded, we are releasing that SQ 521 from Apogee integrated with the AROYA nose. So that'll be getting a very accurate look at your lighting intensity. So talking about above canopy lighting intensity with a sensor that's calibrated for LEDs, it's calibrated for HPS, CMH, and outdoor. With that, on the software side, we've paired it with DLI, so getting a good look at how many micromoles are hitting that canopy on a day-to-day basis. Obviously, that's one of the most important things when we look at lighting intensity from veg to flower, talking about how do we get the same amount of energy into those plants in 6 less hours. So definitely something that I think should help clients understand, are my plants stressed because they're not getting enough light? I think one of the long-term concerns has been, am I getting a stress to these plants because they're transplanted? Am I stressing them because they're in a little different environment with a different room? Or, hey, is it a change from lighting, going to from CMH or from LEDs to HPS or any of those other changes that happen as a byproduct of moving those plants to the next stage? Other things that we have on board is to continue rolling out metric integration across the country. So right now, obviously our 2.0 metric integration's fully functional in California. It's working out great for a number of our clients. Scanning RFID tags, hanging their plants, getting the automated weights when that plant stabilizes. And really all of the impacts that happen in metric output are directly related to the way that you guys run harvest groups. So it's a nice transition for a lot of our clients currently because they're used to the workflow of entering into the system, telling what's going on with that plant life cycle, and then AROYA is automatically outputting that into a compliance inbox. It's been making the life of compliance officers or compliance managers at these facilities quite a bit nicer because all that information can be shared. Those responsibilities can be shared a little bit, yet they are still the end choke point, that control point on verifying that information is correct before it lands into a metric. So we're really stoked about how that information is really going to complete the data set from a grow cycle. So when we look at all this data is an input, all this labor is an input, and the output is talking about weight. How long does it take us to get that weight? What's the quality of that weight? So that metric integration is down to a single input. So rather than dual entries saying, here's my yield into metric, here's my yield into AROYA, you're putting that yield right into AROYA, it's going into metric. Now you're attributing your facility. So that kind of leads into a couple other features we're working on. So we're looking to improve facility analytics. So pages that basically break down how runs operate, how strains are operating, and give you guys a big picture on what's the best way to function.
Cool.
It's a lot.
Yeah. Hey, Jason, real quick, if I could, we're sitting in the command center at one of the Tradecraft spots, and I just wanted to give everyone a quick view of it just to finish off our call.
Let's check it out.
Yeah, shout out to Brent, who's one of the owners of Tradecraft. But so there's 4 TV screens here, and this is how we always have it set up. We have the AROYA here at the bottom left. Then we have our open sprinkler control system at the bottom right. The online training modules that is what we've created, a Whipple Effect to train the staff on all the different sections, and then the security cameras. So it's just kind of a cool thing, you know, like this is where a lot of the magic happens, and where we're managing all of the crop steering activities using the AROYA, and yeah, we call it the command center.
That's very cool. Very cool. Thanks for sharing.
So yeah, I don't have any other questions. You, Sean?
No, nothing.
All right, guys. Well, let's get this wrapped up and start sharing with everybody out there in the world. Thanks for spending the time talking with us. It's great to see both of you fellas, and it's really fun to talk a little bit about how AROYA is working for you. Listen to your comments about your companies.
Nice talking with you too.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks, Jason.
See you fellas.
All right, later.